Hey Nines, I got a request for page 467, number 14. So if the surface area of a sphere is doubled from 250 to 500, by what factor does its volume increase? So we obviously need to find the volume of a cube, and we know that the volume is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. So when we're looking at this, in order to be able to figure out what the volumes are, we need to find the radius. Well, we know that the surface area is 250 centimeters squared, so we can use that to find the radius. So I'm going to make this one sphere 1, and I'm going to make this one sphere 2 so that you know what I'm talking about. So let's first find the surface area of sphere 1. So that is going to equal 4 pi r squared. And I know, and so I'm just going to actually put a 1 here for my radius as well. So everything goes with sphere 1. So that is 250 centimeters squared. So I'm going to replace that. And then I have 4 pi and my radius for that sphere squared. So now, just like we've been doing, we're going to take the 4 pi to the other side. So I have 250 divided by 4 pi is equal to that radius squared. And so I can just take the square root of 250 divided by 4 pi, and that's going to equal my radius, because remember I took the square root to the other side. So the opposite operation is square rooting. So if I pull out my calculator, I know that I want to find, so I'm going to hit the yellow button and the square root. I'm going to make sure I put this in brackets because it's an expression. So 250 divided by 4 pi, and I get 4.46. I'm going to write it to 2 decimals here just because it'll make my answer a little bit better. You'll have a slightly different answer, I think, if you round it to 1 decimal. So my radius is 4.46, is equal to that radius. All right, so now I can actually find the volume of sphere 1. Because the only way I can figure out the factors is if I know the volumes, right? Because I know that the factor is going to equal the volume of 2 divided by the volume of 1. So here I have a sphere. I know that my volume is 4/3. Whoops, let me make that equal pi r cubed. So that's going to equal 4/3 pi, and I can now use the radius that I found from my surface area, so 4.46 cubed. So I can go ahead and plug all that into my calculator. Because I'm just looking for numbers here, I'm not going to worry about simplifying it or any of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go, so 4 times pi times 4.46 cubed. So 4 times pi times 4.46 cubed, and then that will be divided by 3. So it is approximately equal to, let's say, 371.61, and it is measured in centimeters cubed. So that's sphere 1. So now let's go ahead and do the exact same thing, but for sphere 2. So I'm going to do the surface area of sphere 2 is equal to 4 pi r, so the radius of sphere 2 squared. So in this case, it's 500. So 500 is equal to 4 pi radius of sphere 2 squared. So again, I'm going to move the 4 pi across. So 500 divided by 4 pi is equal to that second radius squared. And so again, I want to move the squared across. So I have the square root of 500 divided by 4 pi is equal to r. So I'm going to grab my calculator. So I'm going to just do the square root, and then make sure you put it in brackets. So it's 500 divided by 4 pi. And that equals 6.30, but notice that's more than 5, so 6.31. This is the second radius. So that's all that number down here means. Just compare the second radius, so the radius from the second sphere to the radius from the first sphere. Okay, so now I'm going to do the volume of sphere 2. And so we have 4/3 pi r cubed. So that's going to be 4/3 times pi times 6.31 cubed. I'm going to go ahead and put all of that into my calculator. So again, the only time I'm doing a division is at the end. So I'm going to do 4 times pi times 6.31 cubed, and then divided by 3 is equal to 1052.39. So now that I have my two volumes, now I can figure out what the ratio of those volumes is to come up with the factor. So, right, so in this case then, I said that the factor was equal to, so typically you put the larger one in the numerator and the smaller one in the denominator. So let me just go ahead and write this one here. So the factor is going to equal, we said, the ratio of the two volumes. So 1052.39 divided by 371.61. So when I plug that into the calculator, I get, oh, I can't see the calculator. So I had 1052.39 divided by 371.61. And when I do that, you'll see I get a factor of approximately 2.83. So it's approximately equal to 2.83. So therefore, a factor of 2.83. And you'll notice there's no units here because we're talking about how many times when we're talking about a factor, we're talking about what do we multiply this by to get that, right? So in this case, it's 2.83. Hope that helps.